Today I'd like to talk a little bit more about the key word that relates to what we're doing, and it's a word that, especially in today's times, is much needed for every single individual, workplaces, and it's about time that it's introduced. It has a lot of research behind it, a lot of proof showing that it's a very, very important thing to have as a component in our life and in our work. And I'd like to talk today a little bit more about what it is, because most people don't know the word. And it has such an effect on us, so let's get into it. We're actually the thought leaders pioneering biophilic culture solutions so that we're creating thriving places of work. So if you actually look at what's happened to work recently, as we know, it's changed completely. We were forced to change, and now it's a matter of saying, well, what's it going to look like for the future? And for us, we believe that we need to incorporate a biophilic aspect to it. So the term was coined back in the 1930s. Harvard naturalist, biologist, Dr. Edward O. Wilson, he described what he saw as humanity's innate tendency to focus on life and lifelike processes. So what that tends to mean is that we enjoy being in nature, we enjoy lifelike processes, we enjoy natural systems, we enjoy natural working environments. And we've all been given quite a rapid opportunity to often be working remotely, working from home. And what that led to is people starting to rethink what's important to them, what do they want to go back to, what's life going to look like in the future. And we're working with organisations to have a look at what that's about. Many workplaces and leased, subleased environments, beautiful environments, are just sitting vacant. And so what will it look like? Will we release it? Will we have places that are going to incorporate, I believe, importantly, biophilic concepts? So Terrapin Brightgreen mentioned the economics of biophilia in a report. And they have been working very much in the green space, so environmental, buildings, design. And it says that the concept of biophilia implies that humans hold a biological need for connection with nature, of physical, mental and social levels, and that this connection affects our personal well-being, productivity and societal relationships. So it makes common sense that we want to be in an environment that's healthy, that makes us feel good. So that is both what we're doing at the Institute. We're looking at what is the physical design, the interior design, and then also what is the culture design. And also if people are going to be working from home as well as working in an actual workspace together, what's that going to look like? How can there be ways that we can ensure that people are actually working environments that bring the best out of them, that engage them, that make you motivated and inspired? So the world of work, as I've said, is really changing. So are we going to be coming together like, in this image here? Are we going to be working on projects together physically, or are we going to be having a mixed and a blended solution of working virtually, working on Zoom, working using technology, working using systems that can assist us to work well as teams? And this is a big question that every single leader is facing. How are they going to work with their teams? How are individuals going to be able to do their job well? How are we going to remain engaged? What can we do to make ourselves as effective as possible? So all of this has caused recent changes, have caused people to really start to rethink what will their workspace look like. I think one thing I found was that I live in Manly Beach in Sydney, and it was a real blessing to be able to go and walk along the ocean. And I spent a lot of time walking. I don't know about you, but walking in nature, lots of people were walking with dogs. I don't quite have one, but I know lots of people got dogs. Just having that chance to be in nature more in between doing our work or whatever we were doing. So people are realizing what's important and what nurtures them. And because they've had that time away from work, away from the day-to-day and office environment, they're really becoming more aware of what they want when they return. So that's where we come in. We're looking at the designs of that, working with large organisations, leasing spaces, project managers, engineers. We have a team of engineers, environmental engineers actually, and architects and people who are working on design. But more importantly, it's merging now with what does a culture look like, not just what does a physical workspace look like. And so we're quite excited to offer the two things together. Because I think if you look at all of these buildings I have here in this video, there's probably not even 50% leasing space occurring. There's just so many empty spaces. We're collaborating with partners who are looking at ways to work with organisations to help sublease. And what are those spaces going to be looking like? Are they going to be the sort of old, decrepit looking office space, or are they going to be something that people really want to work within? And that's the design that we're looking at. So generally we work in 3 areas. As I mentioned, workspace, work culture, and then looking at technology to enable that. So looking at biophilic design for the office, for virtual space, for people working at home. The work culture, what are values-based ways that we can be resilient, change quickly, adapt, and still get the job done. And then all of the different cool tools that you can be using. My background is in learning and design. I'm an NLP practitioner. I've worked for many years physically, working face-to-face with people, hundreds, thousands of people, as a keynote speaker, as a trainer, and working as a coach. And I would say nowadays I'm more into the idea of facilitating change and facilitating learner-based solutions. And that relates very much to the trend of looking at organisations. They're looking at client-based and team-based. So we're partnering with organisations to say, hey, what can we do to help you decide what you want? What does your space need to look like? And how can you get to the point where you're thinking about what's the most important things to do? And I really am quite passionate about all of the tools, free resources, ideas that we're providing for individuals. So for you to get your resilience, for you to get excited about the future, for you to know, no matter what's going on, what can you do? And as I mentioned, it's very values-based. We look at working with you to work out what are your top 3 priorities. And we don't do motivation. If people have their top 3 priorities and their top 3 values, which aren't usually the values that we're thinking about, usually that we hear about when it comes to the word values, what are they? Because when we figure it out, we actually don't need motivation. We are truly inspired because we're doing what we love. And really, when you look at it, factory workers, for example, a study showed that there's about 20% engagement, 20% of people are really wanting to do the job. And then that just goes up the Richter scale a little bit. A CEO is about 75%, and an entrepreneur and a business owner who's loving what they're doing, not a slave to their actual business, they are 80%. So it's time really for everyone to have an opportunity to actually be doing what you love. And how to look at doing that, I know for myself for the last couple of years, I like a lot of change, and a big part of that is to be able to work from home part-time. So that works for me, but everybody's different. My background has been in career coaching, career transition, talent management, and we use tools to assist people to really figure out what are your top 3 priorities. Then you won't need to be motivated. Then you won't need to be worried that you're procrastinating. So many tools out there are all about trying to wrap people up with pain and pleasure, or pain and reward, and those sort of things are fine, but they are something that we can avoid if we really get to the crux of who we are. Each person is unique, so we look at that as well. And pretty much what we're doing is just saving organisations, saving their survival, because unless they very, very quickly pivot and look at the structure of the organisation, what the buildings are going to look like, what the workplaces, what the virtual technology enablers are going to look like, it's going to be hard for them to survive. And it's the fluid ones it's individuals who are already quite fluid and self-motivated or self-inspired that are really thriving in this time and finding ways to be resilient through, the challenges. That there are challenges out there, so what can we do about that? So ultimately, our idea and what we're doing is it's working with the biophilic concept and using the data and the research to prove that people are way more engaged when they're involved with nature and natural systems. So just a little bit about us is that we're looking at workplaces being sustainable and resilient. There's myself, my background is more learning and culture. John McLauchlan, worked with him years ago. He was one of my top trainers when I first started out in the training industry and set up a large training organisation. And he actually has an architect background and has worked with major projects, all of the industry specialists in building. At the moment he's been doing access as well with large organisations, councils. So we're merging the concept of bringing these two aspects together. And we have Davis again. He got to know me a few years ago when I had a bamboo business, which was an international tour and workshop business, looking at all the sustainable aspects of bamboo and how we could use that in Australia. And he came along and did his master's in environmental engineering with me. And yeah, since then we've kept in touch, and he has been specialising, working with large engineering firms, and actually he's been the environmental specialist with a team, doing the Green Star ratings, doing a new thing called Building Well, so looking at buildings and making sure they're well, they're helping us become well. And Mark Evans, he has been my past CEO actually, and then we went into a business together as a consultancy and worked for quite a few years together. He's back on board, so excited, and he has been actually working, bringing top PhD students into industry. Because biophilia is all about proven scientific research, we're very excited to involve academia along the way, students, people who are super passionate about bringing nature back in and the environmental aspects back into creating great workspaces and great lifestyle. And we have Catherine Birch-Cole, who's working in our marketing and strategy area in senior leadership. She was with Expedia. They have a great example of really great workspaces. And Bahwan Bawija is looking after all our technology. We have an offsite team as well, and we have so many different cool tools that we can work with you and set up virtual teams and virtual learning and all the ways that we can all interact when we're doing the blended face-to-face as well as virtual. And we have an academic team and many others who are working with us from Otago University, and with this background of incorporating environmental businesses with corporate consulting, with social and sustainable entrepreneurship. So pretty excited with the people involved. Ultimately, if we get back to biophilia, did you know that when you're near the ocean, there are negative ions in the waves, and it has a natural effect on us? With the different aspects of quantum physics and science, we're starting to see that nature is having a direct impact on our brain, on our well-being, on our health, on our organs. Our forests, for example, are filled with what's called terpenes. And I have worked with bamboo for many years, and laboratories have shown that bamboo has what we call anions. So these three words, negative ions, anions, terpenes, are highlighting that a forest, for example, or a bamboo grove has aspects to it in the air that has a physical effect on us. That's why we like to go for walks in a forest. We like to get away. We like to have holidays where there's a bit of nature. Even if you've been encouraged to do well-being at work, we close our eyes and what do we see when we think of relaxation? We see a forest, we see a beach. And it's time today just to incorporate it all together. Our team are really, really excited. I have been always passionate about nature. I came from New Zealand, a small town. I worked in corporate, loved doing that because I was really into human potential, and yet my nature seemed to be a little bit separate. I then took my children up to the coast of mid-north coast of New South Wales, and we lived off-grid, and I ran a consulting firm there to do with bamboo, and we actually had the chance to immerse in nature. We can do everything sustainable, grow vegetables, everything. Yet I found that I wanted to bring this to everybody, and so I've been back in corporate for the last 3 years and doing some interesting projects, and I think COVID-19 has been a very challenging time, but also a time to really rethink things. What is important? And for me, nature is something that we can offer ourselves as a tool with its perfect systems to assist us again back to our well-being, our resilience, and our thriving workplaces. So, thank you for listening. That was a little presentation of what we're about, so you can find out without maybe meeting us directly, and then keep in touch with us. Let's all grow this concept together.